When Jimin reveals Jungkook's painful secret on live TV, the world gasps. But what happens moments later backstage shatters everything they thought they knew. "You weren't supposed to say that," Jungkook whispered, voice shaking, just as the red live indicator blinked across millions of screens. The camera didn't blink. The world didn't either. The brightly lit studio was an immaculate blend of warm-toned luxury and digital modernity, the kind that softened even the most brutal revelations. But nothing could soften what had just come out of Jimin's mouth. "I mean, I'm not trying to start anything, but Jungkook's been lying to you all this time." The host's smile stiffened. The audience laughed nervously, unsure whether this was a joke or a scripted gag. Jungkook's posture froze mid-laugh. Only those closest to him, those who knew how tightly he held his trauma, would have seen the exact moment his mask cracked. "Hyung," Jungkook said under his breath, eyes locked on Jimin with disbelief and silent betrayal. His hand trembled slightly beneath the table, nails digging into his palm, trying to ground himself. But it was no use. The storm had already begun. Jimin's face, ever composed, held a mixture of defiance and fear. He knew he had crossed a line. The question was, why? The studio lights bore down like interrogation lamps. On the cue monitor, the producer's hastily written message scrolled, "Cut to commercial. Now." But it was too late. Jimin turned back to the camera. "I'm sorry, but the world deserves to know the truth." The screen cut to black just as Jungkook's chair scraped violently against the floor. What the public didn't see was how Jungkook stormed off set, his breath ragged, his heartbeat so loud it echoed in his ears. He shoved past staff, past producers, straight through the emergency exit door that slammed hard against the backstage wall. The hallway smelled of hairspray, dust, and something else. Something metallic and cold, like fear. Jimin followed. "Jeon Jungkook, wait!" The name hit like a slap. Jungkook spun around, his voice laced with fury and something deeper, wounded disbelief. "Why would you say that? Why here? Why now?" The hallway swallowed the sound of the door shutting behind them. Silence. Then footsteps. Jimin's. Slow. Steady. He walked closer, his expression unreadable. "You weren't going to tell anyone, were you? Because it's none of their business." Jungkook barked, voice cracking. "Because it's mine. My past. My shame. Not a punchline for TV." Jimin looked at him, not with guilt, but with sorrow. "It's not shame if you survived it." Jungkook blinked. "You don't know anything about it." "Ido," Jimin whispered, voice trembling now. "Because I was there too." Jungkook froze. The rage in his chest was replaced with an icy jolt of confusion. "What?" Jimin pulled something from his pocket, a wrinkled photograph. A grainy, faded picture from 10 years ago. Jungkook's eyes scanned it. His hands dropped. No, this wasn't possible. That boy, curled up in the corner of that gray orphanage hallway. He remembered being alone. He swore he had been alone. Jimin's voice was raw now. "They called us both number 27. They said you were the lucky one. You got out. I got stuck another 2 years." Jungkook stumbled back a step, the walls tilting. His secret wasn't just out. It had never been his alone. "You left me there." That sentence didn't echo. It hung, like the final note of a song that shouldn't have been sung. The photo trembled in Jungkook's hands. Jimin had stopped 3 feet away, arms limp at his sides, and he didn't move, didn't blink, as Jungkook's breath caught in his throat. "I was a kid," Jungkook choked out, his voice small and breaking. I didn't know you were there." "You looked at me, Jungkook." Jimin's voice was lower now. "The last night, when the fire alarm went off. You looked back. I thought you would turn around. But you didn't." Jungkook's back hit the cold wall behind him. He pressed both palms flat against it, like it could stop the room from spinning. His eyes burned. The lights backstage had never felt this harsh. His chest felt too tight. The memories he'd buried weren't even clawing back. They were erupting. "I didn't remember," he whispered. "That's the worst part," Jimin said. His lips twisted into something that wasn't quite a smile and wasn't quite pain. More like something in between, something bleeding. You forgot. I never could. The door burst open. Taehyung, dressed casually in a gray hoodie, breath ragged from running down the hallway. He looked between them, eyes wide, body tense. What the hell happened out there? Is blowing up on Twitter. There's already a Chinese subtitled clip going viral. RM's on the phone with the label. What did you do? Neither of them responded. Jungkook turned away. His jaw clenched so hard it ached. His hands were shaking. Not from fear now, but from the slow, rising heat of humiliation. The betrayal wasn't just personal anymore. It was public. Weaponized. Taehyung caught it. He stepped forward cautiously, trying to anchor the moment. Did he say something about the orphanage? Jungkook's gaze snapped to him, sharp and wide. How do you know about that? Taehyung froze. Too late. The silence hit like a detonation. Jungkook took a step forward. How long have you known? Taehyung looked at Jimin. Jimin looked down. Since Busan, Taehyung admitted. Since before debut. Jimin told me when we were trainees. We didn't say anything because it wasn't our story to tell. Jungkook laughed. It was hollow, bitter, dangerous. So everyone knew but me?
No.
Jimin shouted, too loud, too fast. I didn't even know it was you at first. Not until that night in Tokyo. When you talked in your sleep. The memory slapped Jungkook across the face. Tokyo, 5 years ago. After a concert, Jimin helping him back to bed after too much soju. The dreams, the screaming. He'd woken up crying. He thought Jimin hadn't heard. And you used it, Jungkook said. You held on to it all these years and then you used it. For what? To look righteous on TV. To punish me for something I didn't remember doing. No, Jimin said, stepping closer again. To set us free. Jungkook shoved past him. You don't get to say that. The green room was chaos. RM stood in the corner with 2 phones in his hands, speaking into one in Korean and rapidly replying to staff messages on the other. Hoseok paced like a caged animal, while Yoongi sat with a blank stare, lips tight, not moving. Jeon entered last, holding a bottle of water he forgot to open. His gaze went straight to Jungkook and then to Jimin. Close the door, he said. It was a command. Jungkook obeyed, only because his legs had gone numb. Do you know what you've done? RM said to Jimin. His tone wasn't angry. It was exhausted. Dispatch is already digging. Fans are demanding answers. The label wants an emergency statement. We have 2 endorsement deals on standby. Let them dig, Jimin said. You think this is activism? Yoongi's voice was low and sharp. You think trauma's a talking point? You just handed the media something they will twist. Jimin's hands curled into fists. I lived that trauma. And so did he, Jeon said quietly. But he didn't choose this. Jungkook felt heat rise in his throat. Not anger. Shame. His body screamed to leave, but his feet wouldn't move. They'll know now, Jimin said, looking only at him. The fans who said you were spoiled, who said you were cold, arrogant, they'll understand. They'll know why you disappear after concerts. Why you can't handle certain questions. You think I want their pity? Jungkook snarled. Maybe you need their grace. Jimin shot back. The room went still. Even Hoseok stopped pacing. Jimin took a breath, eyes wet. You don't let anyone see you. You work yourself until you bleed. You never cry, you never rest. You smile and kill yourself slowly in silence. And he broke off. I hated you for leaving me, but I hated myself more. Because part of me thought you were right to. Afterward, when the room emptied, when even RM gave up trying to mediate, Jungkook sat on the couch alone. The lights overhead buzzed faintly. Jimin stood by the door. I never wanted to hurt you, he said. Jungkook didn't answer. I wanted you to see me, Jimin whispered. The boy you left behind. Jungkook turned his head slowly. The mask was gone now. Just a boy. Raw. Empty. I saw you, he said. That's the problem. I see you every night. I just didn't know it was real. He got up and walked out. Jimin stayed behind. He didn't cry. He didn't move. But something in him shifted. Hardened. Cracked. I heard Jungkook used to live on the street. That's why he's so obsessed with control now. The comment was whispered. But in the industry, whispers carry farther than screams. By morning, it wasn't just a rumor. It was a war. The sunlight that poured into Big Hits HQ that morning felt anything but warm. The air inside was cold, sterile, pressurized. Every screen in the building seemed to be looping the same footage. Jimin on the late-night couch, lips forming that one sentence that split the fandom in half. Jungkook's been lying to you all this time. The clip had been slowed, remixed, subtitled in 11 languages, and dissected frame by frame. Jungkook's face, his flicker of confusion, then pain, then fury, had become a meme, a headline, and a movement. Hashtag Protect Jungkook was trending. Hashtag Jimin New was trending harder. And hashtag Jungkook Breakup was already racking up conspiracy theories. Inside the practice room, Jungkook stood alone, hood over his head, punching air. Literally. He wasn't dancing. He was training. Sweat dripped down the curve of his spine as he hit the imaginary target again and again. Jab, hook, jab, step back, dodge, until his fists went numb and his arms gave out. He dropped to the floor, chest heaving. He could hear it in his head again. The TV, the crowd's awkward laughter, the silence that followed. Jimin's voice. You weren't supposed to say that. He screamed into the empty studio. Loud, long guttural, then collapsed. Jimin didn't come to rehearsals that day. Instead, he was summoned. Bang Si-hyuk's office was notoriously soundproof, but the tension seeped through the glass. So this is the path you're choosing? The CEO said, voice level but laced with frost. Public martyrdom over internal loyalty? Jimin didn't flinch. It was the truth. And you didn't think to protect him from it? He never protected himself. Bang narrowed his eyes. You've been in this industry long enough to know, truth is only valuable when it's profitable. What you did last night was not profitable. Jimin's fingers curled in his lap. So that's all we are now? Products. You tell me. You exposed one. Silence. Then Bang leaned back. You've ignited something you can't control, Jimin. And it's not just about Jungkook anymore. The investors are nervous. The brands are reviewing their contracts. We have meetings with HYB Japan next week. And now, half of Korea thinks you're a snake, and the other half thinks Jungkook's a liar. I didn't lie.
No.
You just rewrote the narrative. Bang's gaze sharpened. If you don't clean this up, you may not have a stage left to sing on. In the dorm, the air was toxic. Yoongi hadn't spoken to Jimin since the incident. Hoseok avoided both him and Jungkook. Taehyung, caught in the crossfire, had gone silent. Jeon tried to mediate, but even his patience was fraying. And he was already drafting 2 versions of a public statement, waiting for anyone to decide what story they were going to tell the world. That night, Jungkook returned to the dorms late. His eyes were red, not from crying, from sleeplessness. He walked straight to the fridge, pulled out a beer, and cracked it open. It was only when he turned that he saw Jimin sitting in the dark.
No lights.
Just him. Alone. On the couch. Do you hate me now? Jimin asked, voice quiet. Jungkook didn't answer immediately. He took a slow sip. I think I don't know you, he said at last. You do, Jimin replied. You just forgot. That's the second time you've accused me of forgetting. Jungkook snapped. Maybe you should consider I've spent every day trying to forget. Jimin looked up. There it was, hurt, deep, tangled with guilt. I'm sorry, he whispered. You're not, Jungkook said. You're sorry that it turned out this way, but you meant every word. And maybe you should have. Maybe I deserved it. He turned to leave. I still see you as my best friend, Jimin said. That made Jungkook pause. He turned his head. I see you as the person who shattered my last piece of safety. And he left. 2 days later. Dispatch leaked it. Exclusive. BTS's Jungkook's hidden past in juvenile shelter, confirmed by source. Was Jimin's confession a setup? The headline exploded. The comments section was war. Fans dug through old interviews, clips, analyzing Jungkook's nervous tics, his patterns, his silences. Some defended him with fury. Others felt betrayed. Everyone had an opinion, including Jungkook's older brother. The man hadn't spoken to press in years, but he posted a single photo, a childhood picture. Jungkook, age 7, covered in bruises, a number tag around his neck. Hashtag 27. The caption read, "You were never supposed to carry this alone." Jungkook didn't go outside for 2 days. The dorm was silent, until the knock came. His mother. He hadn't told her. He didn't have to. The world had. She stood in the hallway, aged by years in just days, her eyes glassy but determined. "Why didn't you tell me they knew?" He shook his head. "It doesn't matter." "It does," she said, stepping inside. "You think carrying pain in silence is noble, but all it does is build walls so high no one can reach you. Not even me." He looked at her, eyes raw. "I was scared that if people knew who I really was, they wouldn't love me anymore." His mother stepped closer. "Then they never loved you. But I do. I always will. Even the parts of you that are broken." Later that night, Jimin got a call. From Jungkook. It wasn't long. "Meet me." He did. They met at the Han River, in the shadow of the city lights. Silence stretched between them like fog. "I don't forgive you," Jungkook said. "I'm not asking for it. But I want to understand." Jimin looked at him. Really looked. "I thought if I brought it to light, you'd finally stop pretending you were okay. I thought you'd break, and maybe, just maybe, you'd start to heal." Jungkook's voice cracked. "You don't get to decide how I heal." Jimin nodded. "I know." They stood there. Not friends. Not enemies. Just two boys in the wind, stripped of masks, surrounded by noise, and finally seen. "I'm sorry you ever met me," Jungkook muttered under his breath, just loud enough for Jimin to hear. And for a second, under the bright silver light of the Han River Bridge, time stopped. Not because it was loud, but because it was the truth. The next morning was worse. The media hadn't cooled down. If anything, the story metastasized overnight. Dispatch's report had triggered a tsunami of commentary from all corners of the K-pop world. Entertainment pundits, anonymous insiders, armchair therapists. Everyone had something to say about Jungkook's orphan past, about Jimin's calculated exposure, about the myth of perfect idols. Netizens were dissecting old BTS clips, especially moments where Jungkook would fall silent during certain topics. Family, home, childhood memories. Everything that used to be considered mysterious was now being reinterpreted as a trauma response. Even his tattoos were under scrutiny again. One article claimed his "rather be dead than cool" ink was a silent cry for help. Another said his silence over the years was emotional manipulation to build an image of mystery. They didn't know him, but they all thought they did. At HYBE HQ, the executive boardroom turned into a war zone. The internal PR team had prepared a 3-tier strategy: denial, redirection, or full confession. The problem? Jungkook refused to participate in any of them. "I'm not issuing a damn statement about my childhood trauma," he snapped. "This isn't a scandal. This is my life." The CEO wasn't pleased. "Then at least clarify Jimin's role. Make it clear it wasn't coordinated. That it was emotional, unplanned. You want me to throw him under the bus?" Bang Si-hyuk didn't respond, but his silence said everything. Jungkook stormed out of the meeting, fists clenched, ignoring the stares. Not even RM followed this time. Everyone was too afraid to say the wrong thing. He didn't stop until he reached the rooftop, wind howling in his ears. For the first time in weeks, he felt like he could breathe. But not for long. Back in the dorms, Jimin sat at the edge of his bed staring at a message that had been deleted before it was sent. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted you to stop pretending nothing ever happened." He sighed and backspaced it all. Words weren't going to fix this. Not anymore. Instead, he opened a file folder, his own archive of footage, photos, handwritten lyrics he never showed the members. They were all fragments from the days before debut. His dark days. His therapy transcripts. Even audio recordings from a journal app he used when he couldn't talk to anyone. He clicked play. Jungkook laughed today when I slipped on the floor. It reminded me of that one kid back at the shelter who used to steal our bread. He smiled the same way. Cold. But I don't think Jungkook means to be cold. I think he doesn't know how to be warm. He paused the recording, then replayed it. He didn't realize he was crying until the screen blurred. Elsewhere, fans were turning against each other. Army forums were imploding. Jungkook shippers were being attacked online. Jungkook's privacy campaign was being twisted by antis into a sympathy tactic. Fan letters began pouring into the company office. Some kind, others terrifyingly vicious. One envelope had a razor blade in it. It was addressed to Jimin. The security team raised the threat level. HYBE began quietly reviewing possible temporary separation arrangements for Jimin and Jungkook. Flights were booked. Jimin to Tokyo for creative writing retreat. Jungkook to Jeju for personal rest. Only Taehyung knew what those words really meant. They're trying to keep us from breaking each other in front of cameras, he muttered after reading the internal memo. Or from breaking apart for good. Later that night, Yoongi finally spoke. It wasn't planned. Jimin was in the kitchen, still in his sweats, hair a mess, trying to boil ramen without sobbing again. Yoongi entered, leaned against the fridge and said flatly, "Do you know what I saw that day?" Jimin didn't respond. "I saw a kid trying to protect another kid." Jungkook didn't knock. He walked away from the door without a sound, carrying with him the weight of 1,000 conversations left unsaid, each one heavier than the last. Morning broke like a wound, bright, unrelenting, and indifferent. HYBE issued the official statement. Member Park Jimin will be taking a temporary leave to focus on personal recovery and artistic reflection. The remaining members will continue scheduled activities. It was written like a press release, but it read like a funeral. Jimin left through the back entrance. No paparazzi, no fans. Just Yoongi walking him to the car. Silence between them, save for one sentence. "If you don't come back, don't let it be because of pride." Jimin nodded, eyes hidden behind dark glasses, suitcase in hand. No one else said goodbye. He didn't expect them to. In the dorm, the absence felt immediate. Jimin's room was clean, too clean, stripped of personality. The comforter folded, desk empty. Only one thing remained, a letter, folded once, left on the kitchen table. No name on the front, but everyone knew who it was for. Jungkook read it 5 times. "You said silence is where you feel safest. So I'll be silent now. I won't speak until you ask me to. But please know, I never said it to hurt you. I said it because I saw you drowning in secrets, and I was too angry to reach in. I thought truth would free you. Maybe it freed something else instead. I'm sorry if I broke more than I fixed. If you ever want to talk, I'll be listening." Jungkook folded the letter carefully, pressed it flat with his palm, then tucked it into the inside pocket of his jacket like a scar. Rumors escalated. A popular YouTube channel released an exposé titled The Fall of Jungkook, Hidden Betrayals, Silent Fights, and the Secret That Changed BTS Forever. Within hours, it had over 2 million views. Clips of old interactions, Jimin fixing Jungkook's collar, Jungkook laughing too hard at Jimin's joke, the two sitting next to each other in interviews, were suddenly reinterpreted as calculated, strategic, even fake. Comment sections turned into war zones. "This is why idols shouldn't pretend to be family. I always knew Jimin had an agenda. Jungkook deserves better. They're both broken. Let them heal." Every narrative became twisted beyond recognition. Meanwhile, Jungkook said nothing. He kept working. He showed up to dance rehearsals early, stayed late, didn't speak more than necessary. The managers noticed the bruises on his knuckles. Evidence of hours spent punching the studio bag after midnight, but no one dared confront him. Until one day Taehyung did. "You're not fine," Taehyung said, standing in the doorway of the practice room. Jungkook didn't look up from the mirror. He was drenched in sweat, shirt clinging to his back, hair soaked. Music still blasted from the speaker, he didn't turn it off. "I'm working. You're hiding." Jungkook stopped moving. "That's rich." Coming from the guy who's been pretending none of this touches him. Taehyung stepped forward. You think I'm not bleeding too? I loved both of you. Jungkook's eyes flicked to him. Taehyung continued. You think it didn't tear me apart to watch him leave? You think I don't stay awake wondering if we'll ever feel like us again? Jungkook didn't reply. You can't punch your way out of grief, Taehyung said softly. And for once, Jungkook didn't have a comeback. The next morning, Jungkook disappeared.
No texts.
No note. No schedule. He wasn't at the dorm, the gym, or the studio. He didn't show up to the variety shoot with the others. At first, the team thought he just needed space. But when he missed a second call time, panic bloomed. It was Jeon who found him, 2 hours later, sitting on the floor of the old storage room in the basement of the training building. The same room they'd once used to rehearse before debut. The same room where Jungkook had once cried in frustration over not being able to keep up with the choreography. His back was against the wall, legs stretched out, eyes open, staring at the ceiling. You okay? Jeon asked gently. No, Jungkook said. But I'm not going anywhere. Jeon sat beside him. You know, Jeon began. You've been running so long. I don't think you remember what it's like to just sit in the pain. Jungkook turned to him. What if the pain never goes away? Then we learn to carry it, Jeon said. Together. A beat passed. Then Jungkook asked the question he hadn't allowed himself to ask until now. Do you think he regrets it? Jeon didn't answer immediately. Then, I think he regrets waiting too long to tell you the truth. And I think you regret not being ready to hear it. Jungkook exhaled, long and slow. Maybe we broke each other. Maybe, Jeon said. But broken things can still be beautiful, especially if they're mended honestly. That night, in a private group chat only the 7 of them shared, Jungkook typed a message. Then deleted it. Typed again. Deleted again. Finally, he sent, I'm not ready to talk. But I don't hate you. I don't think I ever did. 3 dots blinked for a long time. Then disappeared. No reply. But maybe that was okay. Sometimes silence was its own kind of answer. It was 2:41 a.m. when the video dropped. Not from an official account. Not through dispatch. Not a paparazzi leak. It was a shaky, handheld vertical video, recorded in secret, somewhere behind a concert stage months ago, and it should have never seen the light of day. In the video, Jungkook was crying, and Jimin was holding him. The internet caught fire within minutes. The clip was barely 90 seconds long, but it was enough. Jungkook, dressed in his stage outfit, was crouched behind a curtain with his head in his hands, shoulders shaking violently. He was muttering something, inaudible through the noise of the crowd chanting their names. Then Jimin's figure entered the frame. He knelt beside Jungkook, both hands reaching for him, one gently touching the back of his head, the other squeezing his arm. You did fine. It's okay. It's okay, Kook. I'm here. I'm right here. That one sentence echoed across millions of timelines. The internet split wide open. This changes everything. So he's not cold. He was just hurting. I didn't know Jimin ever looked at him like that. Why wasn't this shown before? Why was this hidden? The video had no date, no context.
No confirmation.
But it didn't matter. Felt real. And real in this world was rare. At HYBE, panic erupted. The security team scrambled to trace the leak. The footage had been buried in internal files, used for concert documentation, never meant to be made public. Only a handful of editors even had access. RM sat in the boardroom, fists pressed to his mouth. Should we take it down? A manager asked. No, he said quietly. If we do that, it'll only make it worse. Let them see. What if people twist it? Someone else asked. They already have, RM replied. But maybe this time, they'll twist it in the right direction. In Tokyo, Jimin woke to 600 missed notifications. He ignored them all, except one. Private message. From Taehyung. You should see this. Jimin clicked the link, watched the video in full, then collapsed onto the hotel bed, knees pulled to his chest, hands trembling as tears slid down his face. That moment had been months ago. Jungkook had just finished a set with a fever. He'd hidden it from everyone. Almost fainted mid-song. Backstage he broke. No one else saw, except Jimin. And now the world had seen it too. Jungkook didn't speak to anyone that day. He turned off his phone, ignored every call, every message, every headline, until Taehyung walked into the room, dropped his phone on the table and said, "He's been getting death threats again." Jungkook's head jerked up. Jimin? Taehyung nodded. From antis, some of them think the video is sympathy bait. Others think he leaked it himself. Someone posted his hotel name. Jungkook was already grabbing his jacket. "Where are you going?" Taehyung asked. "To clean up the mess I should have cleaned months ago." He booked a red-eye flight to Tokyo. No manager, no security, just a hoodie, a mask and resolve. Jungkook didn't sleep. He spent the entire flight writing something on his phone, deleting it, writing again. By the time he landed, it was still blank. But he knew what he needed to say. He arrived at Jimin's hotel at 5:12 a.m. The receptionist recognized him even with the mask. "Do you have a reservation?" "I need to see Park Jimin. Tell him Jungkook is here. Please." The woman hesitated, then made a call. 5 minutes later, the elevator doors opened, and Jimin stepped out. Hair messy, eyes swollen, barefoot. They stared at each other for a moment. Then Jimin said, "Why did you come?" Jungkook swallowed. "Because I realized, I'm not angry at you. I'm angry that I needed you back then. And I hate that I still do." Jimin's lips parted, but no words came. Jungkook continued, "I'm scared of being vulnerable. You ripped me open on live TV, and it felt like betrayal. But I also know if you hadn't said it, I never would have. And I would have died carrying it. I never wanted to save you," Jimin whispered. "I just wanted you to know I never forgot you." Silence. Then Jungkook walked forward and hugged him, for the first time since the storm began. He buried his face in Jimin's neck and let himself breathe. "I missed you," he whispered. "I missed you more." That same morning, without asking the company's permission, Jungkook went live.
No script.
No background music. Just him, sitting cross-legged on the hotel balcony. Sunrise behind him. He stared into the camera. "I've been quiet because I was afraid," he began. "Not of the truth, but of what the truth would take from me." He exhaled. "When Jimin said what he said, I thought he took something away. But now I realize, he gave me back the part of myself I was too ashamed to face." He looked down, then back up. "This isn't a PR move. This isn't a redemption arc. This is just a man telling you that he's hurting, that he's healing, that he's human." He paused. Then, "I love Jimin. I always have. Maybe not the way the internet imagines. Maybe not perfectly, but in the way that matters." The comments flooded. He ended the live with one last sentence. "And I forgive him." Jimin didn't say anything publicly, but hours later, someone spotted them walking along the Meguro River.
No masks.